already started with our next guest, and I am here for all of it.
I'm excited. I also love when we're prompted with a question to begin.
Right.
So she poses an interesting one, and I ask you, what if Jesus was a woman?
Then I was right this whole time. That is the concept of actor, producer, and playwright Alyssa May Gold's one-woman show, The Girl You Talk To. She's been acting since she was a child, playing the child version of Teensy in Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood. And more recently, she played one of the Greek chorus members in Broadway's revival of How I Learned to Drive.
And she is joining us right here on the couch at New York Living right now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We started with you've been busy.
Been busy. Very happy to have this official New York Living coffee.
Here we go.
Here right now.
There we go.
Iconic.
It's the little things, everybody.
The little things.
Well, what I love is that this woman is celebrity status, busy, and she was like, but I'm on a New York City morning show.
I know.
New York City morning show with a cup of coffee.
I was like, it's all about perspective.
All right, so listen, set the record straight.
Yeah.
Is she or isn't she? Jesus.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. I need to back up a little bit. I need to tell you like a little bit more about what actually happened.
Because now I need to have a new
I would like the backstory.
Okay, so last summer, I froze my eggs when a doctor told me I was running out of them.
Oh,
and
that's great news to hear,
great
right?
news,
Oh,
amazing news.
Right.
And my response was super rational. I was like, oh, I'm a failure in every possible way. And I really had to interrogate that for myself about like, where's that coming from? Why is that? And so as I started to kind of track through like my life and my career, which I started super early, and my relationships with boys, which I came to much, much later, I couldn't really find like a cultural image of a woman that matched my experience. But I started thinking about some men that were written down that it's like, wait a second. That actually sounds like this tension between feeling like you have a mission to tell stories and to be a leader, but also this time pressure to do something before you turn 33 and a half. Right. And I was just like, what if, just huge if true, but hear me out, like what if there was a story that was supposed to be about women that got written down wrong? And if in that world, what else might be different, and what else, how could our world look different?
Right.
And so it's this exploration, and so I'm a writer as well as an actress, and I knew I wanted to fight the stories with a new story and tell my story and try to put these two things next to each other, not to really convince anyone of anything, but to see if it made sense to anyone else. And so I turned it into this play, The Girl You Talk To, which is really like you get to vote at the end if you think I'm unhinged or a prophet. And I love so it's very much a choose your own adventure.
I love the bipolar, unhinged or a prophet. No in between. There is no in between.
Let's be real.
I feel like I need to invite you over to my apartment on a Friday night when I'm sitting here having this conversation with all of my girlfriends who are of a certain age.
I'm available for parties.
I'll
be there.
This is, wow, you did the thing that people don't want to do, and you really got in there deep with your own thoughts, and you sat with that.
Well, if anyone who's ever been on like that cocktail of hormones, I was just like drowning in myself and in my thoughts. There was nowhere to go.
No.
But it really did make me want to. Because when I started talking to other women, nobody was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
It's
Everyone
relatable.
was like,
that's right.
Same. Or men too. You know, like fertility affects all of
everybody,
us
everybody
in
involved.
some way.
Yep.
And so I thought, like, well, what if someone got up and just like talked about it and said out loud, like, yeah, here are the questions you need to ask yourself. Here's what I asked myself.
Right.
And you know, I think a lot of people probably, to your point, are with you 100%, but you just put into words exactly what most people can't. And so then how do you go and you turn this into a play?
Yes.
Which you're putting on through your own production company.
She's doing the whole thing herself.
Pocket Universe.
I have a team of incredible women working with me.
All right, tell us
lucky.
about how you took this seed in your brain from your experience and turned it into this show.
Well, I wrote a 69-page diatribe on the hormones that I sent to my good friend Molly Clifford, who I went to high school with, who is a director, and she read it and she was like, I would watch this play and I know how to help you. And so we started working together in September, and we've been pulling out like, what is the real story? What is the real comparison I'm making? How do we be clear about it? I'm really just trying to offer people maybe a little bit of relief and a little bit of like, we could afford to be nicer to ourselves. And so how do you tell the story only bringing those threads in?
Oh, wow.
Bringing only the positive.
Yeah, bringing the like, here's where I felt trapped. Here's how I found freedom. And how do I keep bridging those things together to offer people something? Not because I don't need to get up and vent about it. Like
Sure.
I lived it. I don't have to talk about it. But how can I make it useful to people? Because people behave like women are given a handbook for how to handle this and how to have conversations. And like I wanted to tell people like there is no handbook, but here's how I made these decisions. And so Molly and I worked really closely together to shape the story, and we tried it out first like at a long table with 19 people. And people loved it. Yep. And so we rented out a theater and we sold out in one night. And then we were like, all right, we're gonna set up for 3 weeks and we're gonna rent a theater and Pocket Universe, my company, is gonna produce it, and we're gonna get a sample of how many people think I'm onto something and how many people think this is a little much. But could all of them get something from it to maybe feel a little bit less pressure to live up to a world built on stories that don't account for really any modern body.
Standards set by who?
Right.
Standards set by who and why, and to what extent, to whose advantage, and like how many people. And I don't think it's just women. I really think it's like everybody is struggling in this modern world
with something.
Yeah.
So had you not decided, I want to go freeze my eggs?
No.
How would this play have been made?
I had been thinking about wanting to write for a long time about my kind of unconventional experience as like feeling very at sea as a woman. And when this happened, it was like everything clicked into place, which was cool. That like sometimes you have to just sit with an idea and let it marinate. And,
very true.
You know, and then I also was busy doing another play.
I mean, she's just a busy lady.
But that was also really inspiring, doing How I Learned to Drive and seeing how Paula Vogel took her experience. And similarly, I very much felt like she opened the path for me to think about, like, how do you take something that happened to you and make it useful to other people? You know, I think there's a misconception that solo shows or personal experience-based writing is like for you, and like it's actually not. A lot of the time, we're trying to see the world and report back on it because I have the luxury of time to actually think about it and put it into words. But yeah, this wouldn't have happened if I hadn't. And I didn't go seeking this out. A doctor said, look, based on your age, you need to go have a consultation. And I went and had the consultation and then found out, like,
and that's
maybe
that was
to make some decisions.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I have learned she's a busy woman. The whatever narrative is in the brain is out in the world, and for that I will forever be thankful.
Thank you so much for doing it.
And Jesus is a woman. There, I said it.
There we go. You have our vote. You are not unhinged. You're a prophet. Okay?
I'll take it.
Thank you so much. Please come back and visit.
I will.
And we can go see the show now through
July 9th, only till Sunday. There are 6 more performances tonight through Sunday.
Oh,
run, don't walk.
It's only 75 minutes, and tickets are $35. It's a good
no-brainer.
time. It's a short time. It's an inexpensive time.
And we can get the tickets on Eventbrite.
Tickets on Eventbrite. Go to thegirlyoutalkto.com. And all the information is there.